Well, hello.
Okay.
And somehow we lost Rodney's video feed. I don't know what happened there. Uh-oh. And we just lost K. Carl.
Oh no!
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. I hope he
Hold on,
comes back.
let's try this again. Hold on.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Well, I'm here. Yes, I can hear you. And I'm here. Y'all, I told you in the comments we were having technical difficulties, and now you know we are for sure. So K. Carl is feeling better. He was with us for just a moment there, and I'm sure he's coming back. So let me make sure I text him and let him know. Try again. There we go. So good morning to all of you out there. Good morning, Carrie and AC Parabiology 101. Haven't seen you here before, but I'm glad to see you here this morning. Yeah, it looks like it's just me, doesn't it? Now, Rodney's there. I can see him in the studio, but he's having trouble with his video feed. So it looks like for the moment, it's just going to be me. And I'm going to let you know that K. Carl was here. He is feeling better. We talked to him yesterday and asked him if he could be on today. And I'm so excited that he's going to be here. I hope he is able to get back on with us because I had a lot of questions for him. Y'all, in the interim from last week to this week, we had an election. And my goodness, what a huge, huge change, like a sea change, seemed to have happened in this country. So it looks like, I'm sure you've already heard all the news, but I'll tell you, it looks like that there's going to be a change in power in the House, in the Senate, in the presidency, and across many, many legislatures across the whole country. Hey, there he is. We got him back.
I'm back. Boy, that was strange. I don't know. It was something because all of a sudden K. Carl blinked out and it took me out too. But we're back. Hello, everybody.
Yeah, and you know what? It ended the chat session music was starting and it ended that all of a sudden. So I don't know what happened with that. A glitch in the matrix.
Hey, the glitch in the matrix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
well,
anyway,
we're here. Well, how was
yeah,
your weekend?
we're here though. My weekend was great. Great. I got to go to Georgia and I had a boot camp with my business.
Wow.
And lots of good people there. And man, we just, as we like to say it, we just had church because there was a lot of worshiping and praising the Lord and, you know, just thanking God for all the blessings in our life and recognizing how he pours out his abundance on us daily and speaks to us daily.
Mm-hmm.
And if only we had our ears attuned to hear him.
Well, I tell you what, sometimes you don't even if your ears are not tuned in, you can actually see with your eyes because I'm telling you, my Lord and Savior, I tell you, he doesn't just talk to you, he'll show you real action. And this weekend, a colleague of mine, James Andrew Luna, Tailored to the Stars, he launched the Coat of Arms military fashion show. We had a great group there. We had Blue Star and Gold Star mothers there, some that were participating in the fashion show. I've got incredible pictures and video, which we'll share hopefully maybe next week. And we had great sponsors, 7-Eleven, Galpin Ford came through, Nestro Cafe Coffee came through. There was a restaurant, Cha-Cha Cafe here in Brea. There was another called Brooksy. They came through and gave food. Wow. I just have to, I mean, there were so many sponsors. I can't even remember. I don't want to leave anybody out, but it was really, really a great, great thing. Goodness gracious. Mercury Insurance came through and I'm just going through, I'm seeing all the sponsors in my head, but we had a beautiful step and repeat and a red carpet and everything. And so James actually launched his clothing line. But the big thing was he made an announcement about a technology that's going to help people who are blind. And he's going to, with his clothing line, first ever, his tags are going to have Braille in them, so you can actually touch and see
Oh,
and know.
yeah. And know what you're
And it's
getting.
patent, and it's patent, and so it's a wonderful thing, and so it's a really blessed situation. So we had a huge event, and it turned out very, very well.
Fantastic.
Yep.
Fantastic. I love that. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I have to say, Rodney, I heard that about it's got Braille in it, and my immediate thought was those annoying tags at the collar of your shirt
Yeah.
or jacket, you know, that are
Mm-hmm.
all scratchy, and I just want to cut them
No.
out. I'm like, I'm hoping that Braille is not turned toward you. I hope it's turned,
Yeah.
you know, the other
Away from
direction or
you.
something
Yeah.
where you can still feel it,
Right.
something
No,
like
he's
that.
saying
So,
it's more a merchandising thing, so that if you go and you touch the tag, most of the, you can have it. Hey, there's Kate Carl. Kate Carl's
we got
back.
him back.
Yeah, I'm
Yay!
here. Can you hear me?
Now we
Yes.
sound great. You sound
Yeah,
great.
but I can hardly hear you guys, but we'll work it out.
All
Oh my
right.
goodness. Well, we're so
Well,
glad you're here. And the first thing everybody wants to know is, are you feeling better?
I'm feeling much better. Feeling much better.
Good.
I got a little bit of the bug left, but I'm okay.
Oh,
hey,
I'm so sorry that happened to you, especially right before the election. Did you get to vote?
Oh yes, my dad definitely did. I had enough ivermectin with me, so I got through it.
Oh, wonderful.
awesome.
So was it COVID then?
No, it wasn't COVID. It's just a little
Okay.
common cold I picked up from grandchildren, I guess.
All right. All right. Well, you know what? Ivermectin is good for other things too. So, well, Kay Carl, obviously there's been a big sea change in our country just since the election. So many different things happening. I have so many things I want to ask you about, get your response to. I think one of the first ones I want to ask you about is I keep hearing about, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this on the air anymore. They had been telling us that we couldn't say the president-elect's name because it would get us kicked off of
Oh,
YouTube.
really?
Yeah, that's what we had been told before, try to avoid that, but I'm going to say it. We'll see what happens. So I've been hearing about what they're calling the Trump effect. Have you heard about that? Have you seen about that in the news?
Called the what?
The Trump effect.
I've heard a little bit of that a couple of times. I'm not sure if they're talking about. Can tell me what you found out?
So what I've been hearing, for one thing, we just found out that the country of, and I'm going to mispronounce it, y'all, it's Qatar. I've heard some say Qatar. I've heard some say Qatar. I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but that country that has been trying to mediate peace between the Israelis and Hamas has now said they will end their role doing that, and they're kicking Hamas out of their country. That is one thing they think is happening because of the election in the United
Wow.
States. I saw something else earlier today that said the government in Germany has collapsed. It was a left-leaning government and it has collapsed, and they think that is an effect from the election in the United States. Already there was a large caravan of people coming toward the southern border that has disintegrated, and they're all going back home because they anticipate they're not going to be able to get in. I'm trying to think what else I've heard. There's so many things that I've heard that have happened just because of the election, of how Trump got elected, and now they're anticipating change, and people are already voluntarily making changes. So what do you think about that, Kay Carl?
I think the underlining theme is this. Well, I think a lot of people are missing that when you read various polls before the election, even some exit polls said that 75% of Americans believe our country is going the wrong way. So I have a lot of Democrat friends who are staunch Democrats, but they understand the idea of liberty. They held their nose and voted for Trump. So now, with that 75% of Americans believe our country is going the wrong way, and a lot of that includes people who are Democrats. So Trump has been given a mandate to get us back toward traditional values. So I don't necessarily call it a Trump effect. I think it's called the American people effect because we're empowering this president to do this. The power's
Right.
with the people, not the power's not with Trump. He just, I think, had it been any other candidate, they still would have won because Americans are sick and tired of how the Democrat Party has gone so far left. And that's why you saw these exit polls showing that 75% of Americans, to include Democrats, think our democracy is under threat. And the alternative to stop that, there's only one alternative was to vote for Trump. So that's what I think that's what's going on. The American people, 75% of us, are to put this man in power.
Yeah. I just saw something this morning too, an interview that, and I don't remember the woman's name. I apologize for that. It was a Black woman, but she was being interviewed by somebody in Australia. And they asked her about the election and what was happening there. And they pointed out that all the statistics are showing that a large number of Black men, and this was, I think, like 26%, something like that, of Black men had turned and were now voting Republican rather than Democrat. And that this is part of what put Trump over the top and helped him win the election. Also, Latino men were voting for Trump. So, and they were asking her about this, and the lady who was responding to it, she said, I think Black men, and she said, I'm very proud of them for doing this, but I think Black men started voting their pocket instead of voting their tradition.
Yeah, Black men start voting their pocketbook instead of voting based on a label.
Right.
Because, for a lot to vote maturely, I think I call them the 4 F's: your faith, your family, your finances, and your freedom. So you can pick one of those 4, make it your priority, and that's what's going on. And that has nothing to do with Trump's personality. It has something to do about what's impacting people's lives. Because I just finished a radio show just last Friday. They're talking about Trump's personality. Personality politics is not going to save America. And personality politics did not win this election. What won this election was people are concerned about the trajectory of our nation. So they had to vote for the alternative, which empowered President Trump. That's what people are missing. It's not about personality politics. It's about value-driven leadership. Will save this nation. And Americans are why I'm happy to see Americans vote based on values and the concern for the saving our republic. That's what I'm happy to see. That means a lot of people really get it, and they put aside labels to vote for saving our constitutional republic.
Wow.
So
amazing,
Carl. If it's not about personality politics, then why are there so many people melting down now that Trump has won?
Why they what?
Why are there so many people melting down now that Trump has won?
I mean, his personality has something to do with it, but he's being supported by majority of Americans.
Right.
I mean, this was a landslide victory. Even with Michelle Obama himself, Oprah Winfrey, and all these celebrities coming out and supporting Hillary Clinton, 75% of Americans believe we're going in the wrong direction. And that cuts across party lines. When you have a support like that of the people, that's powerful. Extremely powerful to go along with his personality.
Yes, I would say so. And I think this is a good moment to do a shameless plug for K. Carl's new book, Telling the Truth, Leveraging the Life Empowering Values of Frederick Douglass to Save America. Right there.
Hey, that's a good plug. That's there you
go.
That's a good plug.
Yeah, telling conservatives the truth.
Telling conservatives the truth, right?
Yeah.
Oh, right. There's that word right there in between. Telling conservatives the truth. So, y'all, this is not just, it's mainly talking to preaching to the choir, so to speak.
It's talking to anyone that has that's concerned about liberty.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm telling conservatives, look, conservatives, if you're serious about defending the Constitution, saving America, you must start incorporating the liberty message of the greatest liberty messenger into your lexicon. And that's Frederick Douglass. If you don't do it, you will not have victory. Because Douglass' writings are value focused. And that's what we need to get to now after the wake of this 2024 presidential election. The next question move forward is, how do we unify this nation? And another question is, what will conservatives do in 4 more years? When Trump can't run again, he can't succeed himself. What are you going to do in 4 more years? You can't focus on personality politics. So conservatives right now need to start focusing on values that most Americans agree with and start articulating those values in a way where it resonates across the board. That's what the next step is. And the way you do that, you leverage what Frederick Douglass has to say.
So, K. Carl, how can he unite the country? Now, when there is so much division, when there are people on the left melting down and literally terrified of a Trump presidency because of what they believe he is or what he represents, how can he unite the country now?
Yeah, I got a lot of my Democrat friends who voted for Harris. They're actually going through a period of depression. I kind of chuckled and said, what's the depression about? So, and I talked to them, I found out they believe the hype or the misinformation that was told to them. I said, what are you concerned about? Well, he's going to send us back to Africa. I said, are you really saying that? I said, what did he do in his last 4 years when he had a chance to do it? I said, stop believing the hype and start. I told them, I said, I'm going to tell you like I talked to my son. Don't believe anything that anybody tells you. Take the time to research it for yourself. Stop believing all the stuff you hear on Black radio, all this hype that he's going to destroy the education system, that he's going to end interracial marriages. I said, stop believing it and start thinking for yourself. So what was your first question?
Well, I was asking, how can he unite the country when there seems
I think what he has to do, he has to start focusing on shared values. Start focusing on what we have in common. And with that commonality, we can work on, discuss other things that we differ on, but at least focus on the shared values. What are those shared values that 75% of Americans embrace? Family, hard work, equal opportunity for all Americans, and accessibility for the disadvantaged, those who are marginalized communities. Those are the 3 things, and justice. That's what it's all about. And I think that's what the 75% of Americans are leaning toward. They're concerned about, they don't like the idea that they don't have control of their child's education. Their child's 5 years old, and they're not involved in counseling matters regarding their child's sexual orientation. You leave the parent out of it. People don't like that. And so it's about shared values, and we got to understand what those values are. Family, faith, economic opportunity, free speech, religious liberty, legal immigration. That's just some of them.
So, K. Carl, you mentioned education. It just came out that he plans to dismantle the Department of Education. What's your response to that?
He plans to do what?
Dismantle the Department of Education.
At the federal level.
Yes.
Yeah. The Department of Education is not in the Constitution. That's something that was started by Jimmy Carter. Okay. Here's the problem I have, and I agree with that really, because education is local. I don't need a bureaucrat in Washington, D.C. that's getting paid $100,000 a year to tell me in Alabama how I should educate my child. I should keep my local politicians accountable. Here's the problem. When I pay my taxes, let's say I pay $1 in taxes, for example. When that dollar leaves me and I pay my taxes, it goes to Washington, D.C. and it goes to the Department of Education. They're probably keeping about 50 to 30 cents out of that dollar before it comes back to the state. So it comes back to the state about 60 cents. So once it goes to the bureaucracy, you got to pay for those salaries, 100,000 people. The people make $100,000 a year up in D.C. When it comes back to my state, out of that dollar I pay in taxes, 60 cents come back to my state. It goes to bureaucracy, the state level. When it gets to the teacher may have like 15 cents. That's the problem. And teachers are frustrated. So now they don't have the resources and the financial backing to educate my child. So that's why I said, get rid of it. It's the layer don't need to be there. We just got to keep our local politicians accountable about the education of our child. So we don't need a bureaucrat doing that. That's all they are. They set and what they do, they come up with a left-wing agenda at the federal level and tell the states, if you don't embrace this left-wing agenda by allowing boys who think they're girls go to the girls' bathroom, you're not going to get federal funding. That's the games they play.
Yeah.
And I'm sick of it, actually. That's why I'm doing a private school.
The same article that was telling me about the dismantling of the Department of Education that was being planned was also telling me that in the last 4 years, or maybe it was in the last 10 years, but student population in our public schools has grown by about 5%. The teacher population has grown about 10%. And the administrative population has grown by 95%.
The school system?
Yes. In our school systems in America, the administrative population has grown by 95%. So
Well,
that
Nina,
layer you were talking about, the bloat, is...
I have no faith in the public school system. I have a 14-year-old son, and I realize that I get one opportunity to get his education right. I cannot afford to wait 20, 30, even 5 years for the education system to get its act together. So therefore, I'm working right now to start a private school, a STEM academy, working with my brothers, because you only get one chance to get it right.
Right.
And we can advocate, we're going to be advocating for the next 50 years. They don't want to change. They want to indoctrinate our children and not get them to become critical thinkers. So Doug was in Baltimore, Rip Allen, he was in Baltimore speaking at a church. He spoke to a crowded audience, standing room only, of pastors, I believe. And he said to them, Douglas said, save your money, pastors, buy land, build schools. Every church should start a school. That's how we fix the problem.
Wow.
If every church started a school and pull some of these kids out of these public schools, that competition will wake up the public school system. And that's what we need to do. We need to take over the education of our child and start relying on government to indoctrinate our children.
K. Carl,
we got to get involved.
K. Carl, do you think we're going to see some real support and interaction between the Democrats and Republicans working together? I mean, because now it's game time. Are you going to, instead of fighting, are you going to see them working together?
I don't see that, because here's me personally, if I was a politician, there's nothing that I believe that I'm going to compromise on. I'm not going to compromise my faith. Now, there may be some issues we could discuss if we find middle ground, but I got to do it where I'm not going to compromise my principles. I think that's been a problem. The conservatives been compromising principles and the left hasn't. That's why we got all this guys been taken out of the education system. We got all this left-wing woke agenda stuff that's out there that 75% of Americans disagree with. I think that's been the problem. Conservatives been compromising and the left hasn't. They stop compromising and start doing what's right for all Americans, but do it with a moral compass. And hopefully both sides have that same moral compass.
Right. That's what, that's what I'm hoping to see, because at this point, it's going to take, instead of, we don't have time for the inner fighting. I think that
I know what you're saying. I just don't believe that a devout Marxist will agree with Frederick Douglass Republican. I don't believe a slave master will agree with a person like Douglas who advocate for the abolishment of slavery. We're going to have that type of correlation going on. So somebody got to give. Somebody's out of place. Somebody's on the wrong track.
So you believe a leopard doesn't change his spots, but I mean, under these circumstances, based on everything that's rioting for the United States, everybody is demanding change. People want to see, healthcare and insurance and all of this
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
And I think that people are going to call for it, and wherever there was, resistance, they're going to have
Right.
pay
We got to
on
do what's
all
right for
sides.
all Americans. And when
That's
you ask
right.
that question, the reason why I went the direction that I did, because I'm a former Democrat. Okay. And I remember I had a friend of mine who's an operative. He said, and before I became more informed about the two political ideologies, he told me when he went to train, this is when Obama was president, he went to training as a Democrat operative. He said, K. Carl, before they opened the door to the conference room where we had our training, they said to us, we don't care what you think about abortion. We don't care what you think about same-sex marriage. When you come to this door, it's all about power. That's how they operate. And when he told me that, I said, oh my gosh. And I will never forget that statement he told me. So we're dealing with people who think that way, but you're right. We got to come together and we got to agree on principles. I think if we could just not be stuck on labels and agree what is right and virtuous for how we're going to handle things and deal with Americans and Americans' God-given rights, we can do that. But some of them don't believe in God-given rights. That's why they try to take responsibility from parents regarding their child. They think they can do a better job.
Mhm.
So I can't compromise with them. I got to stand to and fight them. See what I'm saying? So I guess it's based on an individual case, how we got to look at that and see what we can come together on, or what we got to stand to and stand tall and say, no, we can't compromise on that.
Mhm.
Wow. And K. Carl, I know I heard you saying that you were thinking about, or you're in the process of starting your STEM Academy. Also keep in mind the vocational trades, because in some cases, some children just don't have the desire to go into STEM, but the United States as a whole, we need more skilled vocational people. And I mean, it's a fact. I mean, because when you start talking about journeymen and journeywomen, people who've been contractors, people, cabinet makers, plumbers, electricians for 20, 30 years, when these people retire, we're going to have a huge shortage of people with skilled labor in these areas. And I don't care what, there is no robot that's going to climb under your sink and replace your garbage disposal. There's always going to be a need for the vocational trades. And I just got through working with a candidate out here in California, and he was running for Garden Grove School Board, and he was fighting and been fighting for the past, 3 elections to make sure that the vocational trades come back. And sure enough, they are going to bring them back. But they don't want to give him credit because he's been arguing about this since 2016. But nevertheless, he's been a lightning rod in the community, in the school systems here in Southern California, fighting in Garden Grove to bring back the vocational trades. I was just saying, keep in mind, some people would really want to see the vocational trades too.
Well, you're exactly right, Ron. I couldn't agree with you more, because our vision is this. Because there's some children who are not going to go into STEM. So there's some who may want to go into the arts. They might not go into technology. They'll go into like the vocational and trade areas. But even with that, the goal is to teach the children, no matter which direction they go, how to apply the scientific method to the life. That's the goal. That's our vision. Because even if you're a lawyer, you got to learn how to apply the scientific method to your life. If you're a plumber, how you going to apply the scientific method to your life? Being that even when it comes to voting, you should apply the scientific method. So our vision is what we're doing. We're starting with K4, teaching them the scientific method.
Oh,
They
I
don't
love
even know
that.
they're learning it, but we're teaching it to them how to collect the data, how to analyze the data, how to think for yourself. Unlike these knucklehead friends of mine who's telling me Trump get ready to send black folks back to Africa. They're not thinking for themselves. They take what somebody told them and they're repeating it over and over and over. Now they believe it. Now they're scared. Now they're depressed.
Well, when you talk about programming, it's just like here in San Diego, California, the school system, you wouldn't believe in San Diego, they still have metal shops, and you would not believe they have like probably $1.5 million worth of Haas metal. These machines actually do all of this digital cutting, and these huge, I mean, these machines are like $400,000 a piece. They've got several of them down there in San Diego, and the kids are able to go. But when you start talking about metal and fabricating of things, you still have to program that Haas
That's
machine.
right. That's
And
right.
so you get that STEM as well as the vocational side together, and they work in harmony, and it's a very powerful thing.
Exactly. Each needs the other.
Yeah. No, Rodney, the reason why people ask why you starting this school, what I found out, there's certain categories of children that are the truly disadvantaged. So in our program, when we first started, we recruited children for our robotics team, my brother did, who are failing in school. They have one or both parents incarcerated, or they're in the special needs. That's who get left behind. And another way of saying it, these children we focus on, by the third grade, they're not at level when it comes to reading, when it comes to math. I say that because we know that now, in order to determine the future prison population, they look at third grade achievement scores. If that child's not on par with reading and math by third grade, they know that we're going to need more prisons. So in Alabama, when it comes to those children, they don't build technology centers, they're building more prisons. We need to stop that and save those children because they're not a statistic. And that's what we're focused on. So we're recruiting children that statistically has been written off. And in Alabama, when it comes to math and science, we're always at the bottom, even below Mississippi.
And I do remember when you were saying that you had some of your kids and you actually recruited kids, the bottom, so to say, the bottom of the bottom of your school district, and you took those kids and they actually won competition. That was incredible.
Not only did they win the competition, they defeated a school that's been funded, I think, like $30 million. It's called the Technology High School in Huntsville, Alabama. And our school, Jefferson High School, participated in a first robotics competition. All Black kids. Jefferson High School is a Title I school on Alabama's failing schools list. Our children, to get into this technical high school, you have to be interviewed. Our kids can't get in there. But guess who? And our children beat them in a first robotics competition. When that happened, you didn't hear a word about that in Huntsville, Madison County. Matter of fact, they finished first in Huntsville, first in Madison County, Rodney, and second throughout the entire state. These kids who are statistically written off, okay, they're not at grade level when it comes to reading and math. They defeated these technical high schools where you have to be interviewed to get in, and millions of dollars are being put in those schools. But for our kids, they put millions of dollars to building prisons.
Wow,
Why
that's
is that?
incredible. That's
Why
incredible.
We got to change that, and we're doing that.
I love that, because that means that rather than all of this latent talent and giftedness going to waste in a prison, we're actually going to be able to put it to good use and let them be valued members of society.
Yeah.
We need them.
Yeah. And these children, these are not just only children. It's the economic.
Oh my goodness. Hold on, K. Carl. For some reason, your mic is going in and out, and it's out right now.
Okay. I'm back now.
Yeah.
I think I hit my mic accidentally. I think Satan wanted me to say this. I'm gonna say it anyway. So when I talk about the children we recruit, the it's not a racist thing, it's an economic thing. Because our children that we're talking about, they're not just Black, they're poor Blacks, they're poor whites, they're poor Latino. That's what we're focusing on. And giving them an opportunity, because they don't have access to rigorous STEM education, and nobody's teaching them how to apply the scientific method to their life, no matter what career field you go into.
That's amazing.
So the key is sounding like to me is not how much money we're throwing at our schools, but what we're actually teaching in the schools.
That and who's teaching it? You can't have us. We gotta have the best for teaching our children. Think about it. I don't need somebody that got a C in math and science to teach my child STEM. I need to find somebody that has at least a bachelor's degree in some of the sciences to teach them. That's how you. That's the secret to the sauce. That's how we won that competition against that all those magnet schools throughout the state. We brought in STEM professionals and STEM professors from Alabama A&M, UH, Oakwood College. They in those defense contractors at the research park. That's who came in and taught the children. And
so how did you attract them, K. Carl? How did you get them to come?
Show about the good work we're doing and impacting the lives of the disadvantaged, and they want to be part of that crusade and giving back to the community, or helping those the least of these to rise and fulfill their God-given talents. And you're exactly right. We have this untapped talent in these economically depressed areas that's going to waste because they don't have access to education opportunities, which is against federal law.
So what you're telling me is it's not that you offered them a bigger salary or more benefits or anything monetary.
Well, for the program right now, which is an after-school program, that's all volunteer. When we get our school up and going, have teachers, our goal is to pay teachers in order to get the best, whatever they're making in corporate America. Those engineers, we're going to pay them to pay that same salary at our school, but come in and teach.
Yay.
There you go.
See what I'm saying?
All right. Now you're talking. That's what I like to hear. Teachers actually getting what they're due.
That's right.
You get quality. You get quality education and quality people. Yeah, they're gonna bring it.
I mean, these teachers are responsible for America's treasure. That's our children, and we got to pay them a salary where we can recruit and hire the best to come in and help our children to become successful and be competitive in this competitive global marketplace. We gotta have the best.
That's one thing I've never been able to understand, even from the time I was a child. Why is it if we say our children are so valuable and so important, the teachers are some of the most underpaid people, and because their salaries are so low across the board, yes, we attract people who just love teaching, but it also means they can't make a good living. They can't make a good life. They have to be married to somebody who's also employed because there's no way they can make it on one salary. And a lot of them get burned out because after a while, they're just, they're paying out of their own pocket for these kids.
For the supplies. That goes back to the original question. Once we get rid of the Department of Education, we're no longer paying $100,000 up there for a bureaucrat that's not involved in the education of my child. That money now comes back to my state, and now I can pay teachers more.
Right.
And recruit the best.
The other thing I like about that is you are taking the Department of Education out of the equation when schools start thinking about what do we need to do, what is best for our children, and the good thing about that is the Department of Education has been the one to say, oh no, you have to teach this or that, or you have to do it this way, or you can only use these certain supplies or whatever, because you're getting money from us. And if you don't do it our way, you're not going to get our money. And schools get scared about that.
Right.
And they end up employing practices that are not beneficial to the children or the teachers.
The government has an agenda, always. But the agenda is not in favor, excuse me, especially right now. I think that the agenda of our government is anti-liberty, anti-God, anti-education, but pro-indoctrination. We see that. We don't need the Department of Education. Some of your best private schools, they're not overseen by the Department of Education. It has nothing to do with them.
Wow.
That's the best way to go. And that's what Douglas was talking about. He was telling parents in the community, take over the education of your child. Don't leave it up to the government to indoctrinate your child. Take it over, buy some land. He said, save money, buy land, build schools. He didn't say save money, buy land, put them in a public school. He said build schools. So he understood that because Doug has dealt with the issue of his children not being educated in the school system.
Okay, Carl, one thing that I'm hearing, I have several colleagues here in Southern California that are they're teachers, and they say they spend so much time. And I think this is something that it's not even the education system. The problem is parents are failing. So many children come to the schools with behavioral problems because of things at home. And so many parents, sadly, they're engulfed with trying to survive. And parents back in the day, your parents, my parents, it meant something for the parents to spend that quality time with kids. But now with the interaction with the cell phones and so many other distractions and TikTok and Twitter and all this other bunch of nonsense, the technology is great. We love the technology. We need the technology, but it's all of these distracting factors that now when you talk to young people, so many teachers are saying there are some hardcore behavioral problems that they're dealing with. And now, kids back in the day, they didn't have cell phones. Now they became antisocial, and now there's a lot of power in these cell phones, and they're texting and they're bullying through the phones and they're saying stuff. And then they also have full unbridled access to content that they probably shouldn't be seeing at such an early age. And there's just and then you've got people out here in the world, not only, especially on social media, putting out a lot of false information, and a lot of people are confused. Even the Bible says in the last days, even the very elect will be confused and misled. And so we really have to get back to those godly principles. We need to bring the families back in, just like, and we had a lovely lady, and they're part of a whole nationwide network of mothers and concerned parents who want to look at this material that the kids are reading and approve and disapprove and say, you know what, give my child another book. Let my child read another book, not that book. And so parents are starting to read these books. And when they see stuff in there that they don't like, stuff that they don't want to talk to their kids about or whatever, or don't want their children messing around with that. And I think that is going to be the factor that is going to come into the schools where parents have more voice. And it's just like anything, parents they're important, and their leadership is important, and they should not block parents and should not keep parents, children. Like I said, I remember being a child, and my mom, there was no such thing as privacy. I remember one time my door, the lock didn't work. And I asked my mom, I said, Mama, my lock's not working on my door. My mom said, well, what are you doing in there that you don't want nobody to see? I said, no, it's nothing. I was just telling you that my lock don't work. My mom said, if you bring it up again, I'll take the door off the hinges. How you like that? I said, okay, Mom, never mind.
There you go, bro. You just said a mouthful right there.
I'm telling you.
Technology, in particular the cell phone, it's a blessing and it's a curse.
That's right. That's right.
It's a blessing because my son can have his phone. If he's in a situation, I got to pick him up, I got him. But with my 14-year-old son,
right.
And when you talk about parents got to get involved and start letting this technology, the iPad and the iPhone, become the babysitter of your child. I'd rather my son to be babysit by reading a book from writers of Shakespeare than some of the stuff on the internet, right? So we're not doing that.
Sure.
And so what I do with my son, I said, look, when you come home from school, 4:00, that phone's on my desk. You don't get until the next morning. Because if I don't do that, he has no idea about the road he's going down. But as a parent, I got to assert that authority and let him know, look, this is a dangerous walk you're taking by spending more time on the phone watching a video than in reading something or doing math, empowering your mind. And so that's a challenge. And I learned I had to get involved.
Yeah.
If I didn't do that,
I also like the other thing I like about that is if he wants to stay mentally occupied, you know, they want to be entertained or not be bored. That's the thing that you hear all the time. Oh, it's boring. This is so boring. I don't want to be bored. Um, so what you're saying though is that by telling him you have to leave the phone here, that
Mm.
you it forces them to engage in other things.
that's right. That's
It
right.
forces them to engage with their parents, their family members, with books, with outdoor activities, with chores,
Mhm.
with so many other things that are more beneficial to them than
That's
being
right.
connected to that phone all the
It
time.
forces him to be a problem solver about that particular issue in his life I just gave him.
I love that. Problem
Yeah.
solvers for
One of my
themselves.
colleagues,
That's right.
one of the school teachers here in Southern California, my
You might be
buddy.
mute.
Oh,
Rodney, you're on mute.
am I muted? Can you
I
hear
could
me?
hear him. Yeah, I
Oh,
could hear you.
Okay, but I can't.
well,
Go ahead.
one of my buddies was saying that in the school, he actually takes the cell phones. He says, hey, he has a box and he puts out all the kids' cell phones in, and he says, hey, after class, you can get your cell phone back. And some people don't like that, but you know, he had to step up because he said some kids will just, they're so addicted to their cell phones. They really are addicted to these cell phones.
Mhm. Yeah, what he was saying, K. Carl, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes.
Okay, Rodney was saying that a lot of kids really seem to be addicted to the cell phones, and he knows of a teacher who requires his students to, when they come into the classroom, they all put their phones in a box, and he doesn't allow to have them until class is over.
Rodney, you said the word addicted. We got to find another word. They're more. It's more than addiction. Like my 14-year-old son, I don't whip him anymore.
Yeah.
I take that when I take that cell phone away. Oh man, he goes into a meltdown. Brother, he
Mm,
goes to a meltdown. Do everything I asked and everything I didn't ask. I just got to be more consistent with that. This is the
Mhm.
challenge right now. But
mhm,
that cell
mhm,
phone, oh man, you take that thing away for
Wow.
5 minutes. Oh
mhm.
man, I wonder if he gonna make it. I wonder if he can make it through for 5 minutes. But that cell
Can you
phone,
hear me,
that's a
Carl?
powerful
Can you hear
tool.
me,
Is
Carl?
something you can just take away from them to get their attention.
No.
Mhm,
Matter of fact,
mhm,
when we get off this call, because today's Veterans Day, he didn't go to school today. I'm gonna go take his cell phone away because I know he's in there on it. And it's 11:30 here. I haven't seen him come out to work on do some math, do some reading. I'm trying to teach
mhm,
my son how to have some initiative. Don't wait for me to tell you
mhm,
to do it.
mhm,
Have
mhm,
some initiative about your own life. I know he's only 14 years old, but look,
mhm.
um, I'm I'm working with him like I'm not gonna be here tomorrow.
Right,
Tomorrow's not
right.
promised. I gotta pour into him all I can every day.
You know, even the youngest children can learn some self-discipline when it's in their best interest to do so, when they understand that it is. I was just telling a friend yesterday about my son when he was just 2.5 years old, and he had a medical condition that required a lot of attention, and he was in the hospital for long periods of time. Every day, the nurses would come in to either draw blood or give him a shot, and of course, he did not like getting shots. Who would? But there came a point where, as soon as he saw them walk in the door, he would start crying and, you know, uh, resisting. And we would have to hold him down, but he would try to get loose. And one day he actually smacked one of the nurses. And I thought, oh, no, 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 this can't be happening. Because as he grows older, if he just keeps resisting this, someday he's going to have to own the situation that he's in and do for himself what is best for himself. So right then, I stopped that and I said, "No, you cannot do this anymore." And I pointed out to him, for one thing, I said, "Every time you jerk your arm away, she's already stuck you, but you jerk your arm away and it comes out, and then she has to stick you again." So I just asked him, "Do you want to be stuck one time or 3 times?" And he looked at me like, "What?" And I said, they're going to do it because it has to be done. So do you want to get stuck 1 time or 3 times? And he
Mhm.
said, one. And I said, then you have to hold still
Yeah,
because every time you jerk, they have to try it again. So the very next time they came in, he held himself still. And ever after that, we did not have to hold him down anymore because he understood it was in his best interest.
That's right. That's right.
That was a marvel to me because he was only 2.5, and people would be telling you, oh no, a kid that age can't learn things like that.
Yeah.
But you know what? Our kids will surprise us every time. They will rise to the challenge when we give them the opportunity.
That's right. That's right.
Yep. It's awesome.
Yeah. Well, we've only got a few minutes left. So, K. Carl, talk to us a little bit more about your book.
The book is entitled, this is my second book, by the way, and you get a book from the website. The first one I wrote is entitled Frederick Douglass, Republicans. Of course, this one is entitled Telling Conservatives the Truth. And it's all about empowering and teaching conservatives, or those who are liberty-minded, about the important liberty message of America's greatest liberty messenger, Frederick Douglass. And Douglass' philosophy, his liberty message, is the counter message, the most successful counter message to Marxism. You got Frederick Douglass out there, Frederick Douglassism versus Karl Marxism. Frederick Douglass is the answer, and I encourage you to get the book, learn about Douglass, learn about his, not just his life, about his liberty message, so we can understand what's going on in our country today and how our God-given rights are being taken away. And we got to fight for our God-given rights and make sure those rights are preserved for the future generations. And that's what Douglass wrote about and spoke about.
Okay, Carl, when I heard the title of this book, the first thing I thought was, you know, it seems to imply that maybe conservatives haven't been telling themselves the truth before now.
We haven't.
So what lies have conservatives been believing?
The lie that conservatives have been believing, they've been pointing to the left and saying, you're the problem, but you got 3 fingers pointed back at you and say, hey, get your own act together. Start becoming a better messenger of liberty in order to get people to understand what liberty is all about. A lot of conservatives believe that black folks can't understand the importance of liberty. They can't understand why black folks vote democratically. It's because you don't have a message that resonates with them to articulate the value of the importance of liberty to them. So the problem is not with the black community. The problem is in your messaging strategy. So stop pointing fingers at somebody else and look at yourself and see what you got to do to improve to get better. That's what I'm saying. And if you don't have Douglass in there, it's not going to work anyway.
So now that's a strong statement.
It's not. Because Douglass empowers us. I mean, think, when you leverage what a former slave has to say about free speech, religious liberty, our God-given rights, that resonates with people because no one today can out-victimize Douglass. Because Douglass wasn't a slave master, he was a slave. He wasn't a racist, he was a victim of racism. So when you read his writings, his message of liberty, it resonates with people because this man was a former slave talking about the importance of legal immigration, the importance of parental school choice, letting parents have the power, the importance of free speech, the importance of the right of the people to keep and bear arms. When you read what a former slave had to say, and you can't play the race card on him, that resonates, and that's powerful, and it go across party lines.
Well, thank you, K. Carl, man. It's always great having you on. We really appreciate you, man. Incredible book, incredible topics that we had today. And K. Carl, we really appreciate you. You're always welcome back. And Nina, I'm gonna let you wrap it up. Here we are. It's another great show.
Yeah, we still got about 6 minutes left. Oh, so I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to shortchange anybody here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, but I would like to say, K. Carl, you make so much sense that I'm sitting here thinking, wow, how do we get him a place in the new administration?
Look, somebody asked me about that. That's not something I'm gonna say no to, but that's something God has not put on my heart. My heart and my agenda right now is to get our academy up and going. And so then how we can impact the lives of young people. That's my heart. And then to set up satellite locations, not just throughout Alabama, but throughout this nation based on our curriculum that we develop.
Mhm.
We'll see. We'll see. But I know what I'm gonna do today. I'm gonna give me some Jack in the Box.
Can't beat that. You can't beat that. All right. Well,
Well,
that's
okay, Carl,
awesome.
I have to ask.
Yeah.
Well, not ask. I have to tell you. When I saw the numbers on how many black men had turned and were now voting their values, I couldn't help but think, you know what? There's one man in particular who gets a lot of credit for that because you have been stumping all across the country preaching that very thing. And I think you got a lot of people listening.
We've been kind of stealthily doing this below the radar because I'm not
Mhm.
trying to make myself a celebrity. I just want to make myself a servant. And so
Right.
below the radar, we've been getting this Frederick Douglass message out there, focus on values, that values are not issue divide. Values what empowers you in the vision and your family. And it's catching on, but you haven't seen anything yet. It's really going to catch on in the next, I would say, 12, 18 months, if not sooner.
So why is that?
Trump has read my book, I understand.
This one? This one
Yes,
right here?
yes.
All
So
right.
we see it, and I know that General Flynn personally went to him and encouraged him. You need to start embracing Frederick Douglass' Liberty message to be a unifier. So we'll see what happens.
Awesome. Awesome. Oh, I love hearing that. Now I feel like you are a part of the administration, even if you're not there in person.
There you
That's
I'm
go.
fantastic.
yeah. Well, I
That's
appreciate the thought,
fantastic.
but I'm gonna do
All
my
right.
thing at a lower level.
We've got 4 minutes left. Last question. What can we Americans do? I don't care who's in the Oval Office. He can't by himself unite the country. What can each one of us do to help unite this country?
Yeah, he needs a little help. And each one of us got to become a better messenger of liberty.
Hmm.
We got to learn how to have conversations with people and not confrontations, and and the way you do that, inspire them to understand the value of liberty. And the way you teach somebody to understand the value of liberty, especially when they've been indoctrinated, is share with them Douglas's life and his writings.
Hmm. I love
Okay,
that.
Carl,
I love
man.
in particular what he just said, Rodney, about we've
Mhm.
got to learn how to have conversations and
That's
not
right.
confrontations.
And there's going to be a lot, and there's going to be some very serious conversation. Now that everything is on, I think people are going to start talking, and it's going to be an amazing new change for America. I mean, because the conversation is going to be ever present, and there's going to have to be some serious communication. So I have to tell you, Nina, I've got to go because I have to take
Ah,
care of something. So I've got to bounce.
all
But
right.
hey, K. Carl, man, you guys are fantastic. God bless you and everybody. I'll see you next time. I'm
All
gonna let
right.
Nina.
Bye,
I'm gonna let
Rodney. See
Nina
you next
close it
time.
out.
We've got 2 minutes left, Kay Carl. Bye, Rodney. Thank you. So, in 2 minutes, what's the last thing you want to leave us with today?
You asked me about the message in the book, and I mentioned about getting to Trump. If Trump can he really embrace this and
Mhm.
step in follow the footprint of Abraham Lincoln? Abraham Lincoln leaned on the liberty message of Frederick Douglass to help him unite America. Because
Mhm.
because of the Civil War, the United States was a divided country.
Yeah, I can't think
Lincoln,
of a time where we were more
right?
divided than
But,
at that
But
moment.
Lincoln leaned on the liberty message of Frederick Douglass. When you read the Gettysburg Address, which is a very short speech, it's
Mhm.
almost like you can tell that Douglass is in Lincoln's ear, whispering some things that he should say.
Mhm.
It would be
Mhm.
wise if President Trump can lean on the liberty message of Frederick Douglass and stands the test of time to unite America today. And when he does that, that'll totally change the trajectory of our nation from going to a socialist communist country and seeing the left back to France.
Mhm. Mhm. Love that. So, y'all get the book so that you can learn what the liberty message of Frederick Douglass is. And here's another thing I love, K. Carl has cards in it.
Yeah,
So you get a set of these cards in there. On one side is telling, well, on both sides really, telling what the values are. the right to keep and bear arms, limited power of government, personal responsibility, respect for life, the U.S. Constitution, economic prosperity, women's rights, religious liberty, education, parental choice, free speech, immigration, and the right to vote. And it is all summarized right here so
Just a
that you
quick,
don't have
yeah,
to say, oh, where did I read that in the book? Or carry the book around with you to help. You can have a card like this. And even because they're all it's a whole set of cards. Let's see, I think there's 4 here. That's what I got. So you can keep one and pass some on to your family members or friends and help get the message out there.
yeah. The card has a quote. It's quotes from Frederick Douglass
Mhm.
regarding each of those categories that Nina just mentioned. That's what's
Right.
powerful when you read what a former slave had to say about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, it's been a great show today. Kay Carl, I'm so glad you felt well enough to come and join us, especially at the last minute. Thank you so
No
much
problem.
for being here. You're always one of my favorites. So, y'all, have a great week and a great day. And remember, be of good courage because God is with us and we aren't alone. Bye, everybody.